All right, for this one, we're going to use the get back to basics strategy because we can hopefully see that these equations, even though they're kind of scary looking, are really just y equals mx plus b equations. So we know that just by looking at them, right? F of x is y. We've made that substitution many, many times before. We have a number attached to a variable. That's a good slope kind of situation. And then we have an extra thing at the end. That's our y-intercept. We also have the words constant rate in the question. That's a key phrase that you should link in your brain to lines. Okay, constant rate, a line that's what the slope is. It's the constant rate. So if we're thinking about it in terms of lines, we should see one thing right away. We have two that are positive slopes and two that are negative slopes. That is a very easy thing to determine based on the story. What do they say? They say that the oil and gas production in a certain area dropped from 4 million barrels to 1.9 million barrels. That's a decrease. So we're going to want the answer that has a decrease, that has a negative slope. So that gets rid of A and B very quickly. And now on a hard question, we've got a 50-50 chance of getting it right. However, even people who make that realization, most of them still get it wrong. And it's because they kind of understand that it's a hard question, but they forget how that's going to play itself out on an SAT. So the real strategy that I think makes the difference here is sense the difficulty. We're at question 13 out of 15 in the multiple choice of this section. So we're up there. We should expect it to be hard. So if we look, what our brain is going to do is it's going to see 1.9 in the question and 19 in the choice. And it's going to be like, oh, they're not the same number, but they're close enough that I want to pick it. Now, it's perfectly logical, but it's bad logic for an SAT because on a hard question, those kinds of simple things don't tend to happen. In fact, that usually is a sign we were dealing with a trap answer choice. So if all you know is that choice D is too easy, that might be the only reason you pick choice C, and that is a perfectly valid reason for picking choice C. Okay, sometimes that's the best we can do, is we don't know the math, but we know the SAT, and we know the rules that they play by, and we're just like trusting that they're still playing by those rules. Okay, so then what's going on here? Why would this be the answer? So the way to think about it is to use slope, because that's the difference, right? The difference is in the slope. And so what can we use to help us? Well, we know there's a slope formula, the change in y over the change in the x. Or if you're really big on memorizing annoying things, y1 minus y2 over x1 minus x2. So we can find 2 points and kind of subtract them to figure out what the slope is supposed to be. Well, they give us 2 points, right? The yellow, that 1.9 is one of them. That point would be, the t would be 13, right? Because it's from 2000 to 2013, so that's 13. And the y, the f, is going to be the number of barrels. So let's just say 1.9, right? We can kind of ignore the million because it's the same unit. So we're just going to put 1.9. The other point is also given, 4 million barrels. So we can say, okay, that's at year 0, year 2000, 4. So now we can plug these 2 points into this equation and figure out what the slope is technically supposed to be. So let's do 4 minus 1.9 over 0 minus 13. Okay, so 4 minus 1.9 is basically 4 minus 2 with a little extra. So that's going to be 2.1 over negative 13. So it's still not perfect, but we're certainly closer to understanding why the correct answer would have a 21 instead of a 19. And it has to do with the fact that we're really concerned about the change, not the point where it ends, but the difference between the start and the end, right? What happens in that moment? That's what a slope actually captures. It's a measure of change. So we don't care that it ends at 1.9. We care how we got there. And so the next mathematical step, which you don't really need to do, but is basically what they did, you can see with the 130, is they just multiplied everything by 10. So they multiplied the top by 10 and the bottom by 10 to get 21 over 130, and yeah, it's negative. So there it is. It's annoying. It's definitely annoying. But the key piece here is, especially if you're running short on time, just thinking in terms of where you are in the test can save you some points on some difficult questions, right? If we know a question is supposed to be hard, we should think about whether or not we get an answer too quickly or too easily without doing a lot of work. On a hard question, that's a dangerous sign. Sometimes it'll still be right, but we would really love to second guess ourselves for a second and prove it if we can. And if not, I really do think if you have no clue here, C is the much better guess, simply because it's a little bit weirder than D, and 13 out of 15 is a weirder question, most likely. So yeah, annoying, but keep it in mind, it might help you out on a question or two.